UFC 299 is shaped up to be one of the best, greatest, and most stacked cards we've ever been given as MMA fans. So, as the title suggests, I've decided to do a quick preview of the event, giving a rough 1-minute breakdown for each of the 14 bouts going down this weekend. UFC 299 begins at 6 p.m. Eastern Time and has a 5-fight early preliminary card. The first two fights aren't quite as exciting of matchups as the rest, but 12 of these 14 encounters are incredibly exciting and anticipated. Opening up the early prelims, we have a women's flyweight bout between Joanne Calderwood and Marina Moros. Calderwood was once a highly touted, undefeated prospect coming off the Ultimate Fighter 20. After going 1-1 on the show, losing to Rose Namajunas in her second exhibition, she'd win her UFC debut, improving to 9-0 as a professional before losing for the first time. To Marina Moros, in fact. Moros armbarred her in a mere 90 seconds back in 2015, and Calderwood has been up and down with wins and losses since, currently sitting at 16-8 as a professional and coming off a split decision win over Luana, Carolina last March. Moros, on the other hand, has gone 3-2 over her last 5, most recently losing to the surging Curry Silva in the rematch, submitting her in their first fight back in 2014 and being submitted by her in their second this past August. Second up, we have another flyweight encounter, this one coming in the men's division, between CJ Vergara and Asu Almabayev. Vergara has gone 3-2 thus far into his promotional tenure, while Almabayev has gone just 1-0 with a submission victory over O'Day Osborne, having won his last 14 straight fights. Our third fight on the early prelims is an anticipated one, coming between Olympic Taekwondo bronze medalist Robles Desban and 22-fight veteran Josh Parisian. Desban is just 4-0 as a pro, all 4 wins coming via first-round knockout. His debut he won in 4 minutes and 54 seconds before securing knockouts in 12 seconds, 3 seconds, and 4 seconds in his last 3 appearances. Parisian, though coming over to the UFC with a lot of hype, has gone 2-4 since joining the promotion in 2020. Desban is a huge favorite going into this fight, but I for one think Parisian's experience is going to play a big factor in this one. I mean, Desban has never even fought a guy that had more than one fight. His first 3 fights he fought debut opponents, and his 4th fight he fought a 1-0, none of which have won a fight since. 35-year-old Desban will also have the longest reach in UFC history by the time he makes his debut this weekend, standing 6'7" with a reach of 87 inches. The early prelim co-main event is a very exciting one between middleweight strikers Michel Pereira and Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. Pereira comes into the bout on a 6-fight win streak, having knocked out Andre Petroski in his middleweight debut last October, while Oleksiejczuk has gone 5-2 over his last 7 and is equally as powerful and fast with his hands. This is going to be a good one you don't want to miss. Both of these guys bring it every single time, and they're both so dangerous on the feet. Then headlining the early prelims is a light heavyweight bout between CUDELLAA and Felipe. CUDELLAA just snapped his losing skid with a knockout win over Tanner Boser last year in April, while Leans, following back-to-back defeats in his UFC debut and sophomore effort with the promotion, has since won 3 straight. With as violent as CUDELLAA is and as technical as Leans is, this should be a good one as well. Opening up the regular preliminary card is a bantamweight contest between number 13 ranked Pedro Munoz and the surging PHILLIPS. Munoz was once one of the top bantamweights in the sport, but at 37 years of age, he isn't quite what he once was, having gone 1-1 over his last 2 with a win over Chris Gutierrez and a loss to Marlon Vera in his most recent appearance. Phillips, on the other hand, has gone 5-1 through his first 6 UFC fights, boasting wins over Song Yadong and most recently, Ione Barcelos last August. Next up is a lightweight encounter between number 6 ranked former KSW champ Mateusz Gamrot and number 11 ranked former UFC lightweight champion Rafael Dos Anjos. This is to be Dos Anjos' first fight off a main card since 2014, literally 10 years, with 18 of his last 20 fights being either main or co-main events. He's gone 3-2 over his last 5, most recently losing to Vicente Luque up at 170 pounds, while Gamrot has gone 6-2 thus far into his UFC tenure with back-to-back wins over Jalen Turner and Rafael Fiziev. Our preliminary co-main event comes in the women's flyweight division between number 4 ranked Caitlyn Chukagian and number 6 ranked Macy BARBER. Chukagian has gone 4-1 over her last 5, only losing to number 2 ranked Manon Fiora in that time, while BARBER has won her last 5 straight since losing back-to-back fights in 2020 and 2021, most recently stopping Amanda Hebos in June of 2023. Headlining our prelims is a heavyweight bout between number 5 ranked Curtis Blades and number 7 ranked Yelton Almeida. Blades has only ever lost to Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis, and a fight he was looking great in, mind you, and then Sergey Pavlovich, pretty much dominating everyone else, including a number of former world champions, like Alistair Overeem, Junior Dos Santos, Alexander Volkov, and Tom Aspinall. While Almeida's gone a perfect 6-0 in the UFC and hasn't lost in 15 straight fights. Almeida also boasts 19 finishes and 20 career wins, but this fight is going to tell us whether or not he's ready for the very best in the sport. I see him having a hard time taking Blades down, and I don't really see him outstriking Blades either, but we shall see. I am very, very excited for this one. Opening up the main card is a bantamweight bout between number 4 ranked former UFC bantamweight champion Peter Yan and number 7 ranked Song Yadong. Peter Yan, following his claim of the title, was 15-1 as a professional, the only defeat coming via 5-round split decision in his ACB title fight with Magomed Magomedov, a defeat he'd later avenged via unanimous decision to claim the ACB title. Yan looked unstoppable for some time there, but his disqualification defeat to Aljamain Sterling really hurt his career. Following his loss of the title, he'd go on to defeat Corey Sandhagen, where he won the interim title, before losing back-to-back split decisions to Aljo in the rematch, and then Sean O'Malley, both fights of which many thought he won. He then went into his last fight with number 1 ranked Merab Dvalishvili, who dominated him for 5 rounds, really the only convincing defeat of his career. Yong has gone an impressive 10-2-1 in his 13 promotional fights, most recently defeating Ricky Simon and Chris Gutierrez in back-to-back encounters. One thing I'm really looking forward to in this fight is to see how Yan deals with the size and power of Yadong, who's a very big bantamweight, whereas Yan really isn't. I do think Yan is slightly more technical, though Yadong has technique in spades as well, but I am so excited for this one. Next up is a welterweight bout between number 4 ranked former title challenger Gilbert Burns and number 11 ranked CHAKAN Maddalena. Burns, at nearly 38 years old, is still an elite competitor, but this fight will show us whether or not Della Maddalena is a top contender. Gilbert Burns, following a 6-fight win streak from 2018 to 2020, has since gone 3-3 with wins over Stephen Thompson, Neil Magny, and Jorge Masvidal. The losses coming to Kamaru Usman, Khamzat Chimaev, and Bilal Muhammad. A lot of people thought he won the Chimaev fight and could be 4-2 in his last 6, but Della Maddalena, on the other hand, has won all 6 of his UFC fights. In fact, he's gone 16-0 since opening up his career with a record of 0-2, avenging one of those defeats in the process. After securing 4 first-round finishes to begin his promotional tenure, however, his last 2 wins have come via razor-thin split decisions. Which isn't the worst thing in the world. I mean, I'm sure he learned from them, and he still didn't have to lose in order to learn from them. They were just closer than his first 4. So yeah, this fight between Della Maddalena and Burns, man, I really can't wait for it. Our feature fight of the evening shows us the UFC debut of Michael Paige, who faces number 13 ranked Kevin Holland in a welterweight bout. Most of us have been waiting some time to see Paige finally come over to the UFC, as he hasn't quite fought the best talents in the world, though he does boast some good names on his resume, such as Paul Daly, Douglas Lima, Derek Anderson, Logan Storley, and Goiti Yamauchi. And about to turn 37 years old next month, now is the time for Paige to come over to the UFC, and I'm so glad it finally happened. Holland has gone 4-3 since dropping down to 170 pounds, defeating Alex Oliveira, Tim Means, Santiago Ponzinibbio, and Michael Chiesa, all 4 finishes, while losing to Khamzat Chimaev, Stephen Thompson, and Jack Della Maddalena. Next up is our co-main event, which takes place in the lightweight division between number 3 ranked former interim champion Dustin Poirier and number 12 ranked Benoit Saint-Denis. Poirier might just be the best fighter ever to have never won undisputed gold, with wins over some of the very best talents in lightweight history, though he comes into the bout off a KO loss to Justin Gaethje, a man he also boasts a win over. In his most recent victory, he became the first man to ever submit Michael Chandler. Then we have Saint-Denis, a French assassin that's gone 5-0 since losing his UFC debut up at 170 pounds against Elizu Zaleski dos Santos. If you didn't see that fight, I'd suggest you definitely go back and watch it. You've probably never seen a display of toughness and durability quite like that. What's more, his lone defeat comes via decision, while all 13 of his wins come via finish with 4 knockouts and 9 submissions. Another thing to consider, he just won his last fight with a head kick, while Poirier just lost his last fight courtesy of a head kick. Poirier is a very heavy-handed boxer, but I think he squares up his hips just a little bit too much for someone who's as good at wrestling as Saint-Denis is, and Saint-Denis will not quit on himself. He gets stronger as the fight goes on, and he finishes everybody, so I'm very excited to see this one. And I am so happy that it's scheduled for 5 rounds. Then we have our main event of the evening, a bantamweight championship rematch between Sean O'Malley and number 5 ranked Marlon Vera. O'Malley just captured the title with a second-round knockout of Aljamain Sterling, with his previous fight being against Peter Yan. After a long come-up that saw him face many opponents a lot of us wouldn't really consider worthy to face him, he was thrown right into the deep end, and he's gone 2-0 in those 2 fights. Vera is the only man to ever defeat O'Malley, controversially or not. O'Malley was looking absolutely incredible early on in that fight, but ate a leg kick that deadened his leg, and he was ultimately TKO'd at 4:40 of round 1. At first glance, once this fight was signed, I thought O'Malley had the win in the bag, but after really thinking about it, I'm not so sure. Considering Vera's never been finished before, I think this might be a tough one for him. O'Malley has never seen the championship rounds before, his longest career fights being 15 minutes, and I don't think anyone gets better as the fight goes on quite like Marlon Vera. Vera's always had the ability to make adjustments mid-fight like very few can, and he never gets tired. It's resulted in a lot of late finishes for him. So if O'Malley can't knock him out and this fight goes late, I really don't see him doing too well in rounds 4 or 5, maybe even 3. And I know it might sound a little strange thinking that O'Malley's only shot is early on in the fight when he got stopped in the first round in their first fight, but If Vera's still standing in front of him, eating all those shots that he throws his way, I think it could be a very long night for him. Because like I said, Vera's never been finished before, and he took heavy shots from Davey Grant, John Lineker, Douglas Silva de Andrade. He took Song Yadong's best shots up at 145 pounds, Jose Aldo, Rob Font. And not only did he not get finished by any of these guys, but he's never even been dropped before. So that does make me wonder if Sean O'Malley can do it. I absolutely cannot wait for this event. It is such a stacked card. If you would, leave your picks in the comments below and let me know how you think these fights are going to go. Thank you for watching my video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it.